Hello friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal, and in today's video, we are going to be working on day 24 in my December Daily 2020 album. So for Christmas Eve, day 24, I have a few different things that I am going to be working with in this particular spread. So the first is this star transparency that I pulled out of an older Week in the Life kit. And on top of this transparency, I'm actually going to use one of Laura Wanzik's ideas from her texture product play 4 class, which was to create this like Christmas rainbow felted tree. And what I want to do with mine is to make it into a photo flip book. So I have a bunch of photos that are printed at that same size as the top part of this tree. And the idea is to have them flip up so you can see the different photos from throughout the day. So I've got 4 different photos here, and I will just adhere this straight onto the transparency just like that. I'm going to add my number and some stuff on top of this, but we'll figure that out as we are doing the page today. Then on the back, I've got a full page or a full triangle photo to put on the back side so that it's covered on both sides. This is us reading The Night Before Christmas on Christmas Eve. And then I'm going to add some journaling on this page with some embellishments. And on the back side, I've got this photo right here. These are actually for day 25. I've got this photo right here that says, "May you never be too old to search the skies on Christmas Eve," that I'm going to add some stars to and call this one a day. So what I'm going to do is get you guys on fast forward and go ahead and put these pages together here. And then once everything is assembled, we will slow back down. I will read you the journaling I've got for this particular day, and that will be that. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to get started by working on this felted tree piece first. So I'm going to get everything out and rearranged so that all of the pieces that go together are together. I've got those they're like plastic stars that have star confetti inside of them. Those were from the add-on star kit or mini kit from Allie Edwards. Those are going to go with that picture that I've got of the kids looking out the window. I've got a little packet of embellishments that's going to go with the page that I'm going to do journaling on. And then I separated here the pieces that I'm going to have on the portion with the felted tree, and then the pieces that are going to go behind the tree on the opposite side of the transparency. Now, the one piece that I didn't have pre-thought out here was the back of the trunk of the tree. So on the felted side, I'm going to use a portion of one of the pleather pieces that just says fa la la. But when I stick that down on the opposite side, you're going to see the adhesive. So I thought what I would do is just cut a piece of patterned paper to be the same size right there. I ultimately decide to use this black and white stripe. I like the way that it looks with the picture itself. I debated using a red since we have red on the cuffs of our pajamas, but decided that this would be the easier route to just use this black and white. I like the way that it contrasts with the photo and that gold star. So that I'm going to set to the side and get to work on the front side first. So the first thing that I did here, and I actually messed this up a little bit and have to go back and take this off and readjust it later. So if this is something you want to repeat in your album, learn from my mistakes here and don't adhere this down quite yet, because I actually am going to take one of the numbers and staple it to the front of the felted tree. But I don't want those staples to go through onto my photo. So I will take those back apart, staple the number on there, and then re-adhere the photo to the back of it. But basically all I'm doing is taking one of the photos, adding it to the back side of the tree. Then I've got 2 photos in the triangles that are going to be adhered back to back, and then a 4th one that is going to be adhered down onto the transparency. So this is going to become a sort of flip book of pictures. When I was creating this, I basically took the measurements of my triangle, created a triangle shape in Photoshop to mimic this, and then I used that as a clipping mask for my pictures. So I could clip them into that shape in order to print them in this triangle shape, and it just made the whole process easier. But I did have to change orientations of my photos. So some photos are oriented where the top of the picture is at the point, and some pictures are oriented where the top of the photo is at the widest part of the triangle. And that's because when this becomes a flip book, it's going to flip up to the top of that triangle, which you'll see that as we get this assembled here in just a second. Now, before I move on to putting this book together, I first wanted to add a little bit of something to each of these photos. So I grabbed out the sticker sheet that came in the black and white collection from Paper Person, and there was a bunch of little phrases on there. One of them said home for the holidays, and that's what I put there on the picture of Erin cooking dinner. Another one said something along the lines of things are different this year, and I put that on the picture of Erin and the kids relaxing on the couch at my parents' house. And then I also have been hoarding this circle sticker that says step back Santa 6 feet. And I put that in amongst the dishes where you can see the cookies and the milk that we set out for Santa that night on Christmas Eve. I just thought that was a cute little thing to add, and also a nod towards all of the stuff that's happening during the holidays this year. So then I added a little tiny bit of adhesive up at the top of the point and put all of those together. So now we have this flip book, but I want this to be super stable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually stitch the top of that. Before I get to that, I do want to go ahead and add my number. And this is where, see, I had to take the whole booklet off of the felted tree portion there so I could go ahead and figure out my number here. I originally was debating between two different numbers. One is the acetate number or the transparency number. I believe that was from the List story kit, and I had gotten it as an add-on, and I just, whenever there are numbers available, I always pick up the numbers because I like having a variety for projects like this one. And then I also had a Tim Holtz number token, and I had considered putting that one on this as well, but I really like the way that the transparency one looks on the tree. So that is what I picked. I'm just going to use my tiny attacher to staple it right there in the middle of the tree, and then we will add it back onto that little booklet, and everything turns out to be just fine. So now that I have all of those pieces assembled and the numbers on there and we're good to go, I'm going to go ahead and stitch this up at the top. That is just going to reinforce that spot, and then it also allows it, when I'm using this as the flip book, it'll help it to hold up much longer than if I had just used tape. So now that we have that done, we can go ahead and get this onto the transparency that will go in this book. So because I can see that the roller adhesive isn't super great on the page that I had stitched, because I took all of those felt pieces and I stitched them onto the paper. But the stitching and roller adhesive does not necessarily go together. So I took out some of my redline tape and I added that to the bottom portion and to the middle between the felted tree and the first photo, just to help everything stay down really nicely. Then I'm going to use some score tape just because it's a little bit stronger than my roller adhesive, and that is how I'm going to adhere everything down onto this transparency. Before I get everything down here, I do want to go ahead and add this star. I'm just going to use some liquid adhesive to add the star up at the top of the felt portion, but because there are varying levels there, I also decided to grab over my foam squares and add little pieces into those points. That's just going to help everything stay pretty, what do I want to say, like even, at an even level, and it'll make it stick down onto that transparency and stay in place for a much longer amount of time than it would if I had tried to like shove it down and stick it onto the transparency. It would eventually come back up. So that worked out a lot better. I like it all at that even level. Okay, so now we can position this onto the transparency and get everything stuck down. So I'm going to start from the bottom and add the little trunk piece there first. Again, that is from one of those pleather embellishments from the main kit from Allie Edwards. So that is going to go down first. Then I will add on the bottom portion of the tree. I will add a little bit more roller adhesive on there just to hold down the portions that aren't necessarily covered from the redline tape. So we will add that onto the trunk portion there, and then I will go ahead and add the top flip portion of this booklet too. I will say that one thing I forget later to put in my journaling, I'm kind of bummed about it, and I don't have enough room to add it in there, but it's totally fine. You can see it from the pictures that I have chosen for this particular day, but so one of the things we did this Christmas Eve, normally on a normal year, we would spend Christmas Eve with one side of our family and Christmas Day with the other. So this year we were supposed to have spent Christmas Eve with my husband's family and Christmas Day with my family. But because of COVID and the restrictions and just the risk that would put people at, we decided to only spend Christmas Day with my family. And we also had them self-quarantine for the 2 weeks beforehand, just to make sure everything was going to be fine and the least amount of risk possible. So what really stunk about that is we weren't able to spend the holidays with my husband's family pretty much at all. So for Christmas Eve, what we ended up doing is we packed up all of the presents that we had for my husband's family, and we did porch drop-offs. So we took the presents to my husband's parents' house and dropped the presents off there, and then did the same thing for my brother-in-law and sister-in-law who live here in Michigan. A couple of his siblings live too far away. One's out of state and one's a couple hours away or hour away or so. It's just too far to drive with the kids. So those we had shipped. But for his side of the family, we did porch drop off for presents. And so we were able to see each other. We weren't really spending the time together, which made it very different than most years. So I didn't necessarily talk about that. I did say that we dropped off presents or exchanged gifts, but I didn't really go into any details about we literally just dropped off presents and left, and that was strange for this year. Hopefully next year we will not be dealing with any of this because, yeah. So the first side of that tree is totally stuck down now, and I'm working on the back side. I did have to adjust the sizing of this photo because it was a little bit too large. So I cut a bunch off, and then I accidentally cut too much off. So to fix that mistake, I grabbed over this super thin red and white washi. It's actually red and white with a little hint of pink in there as well. So it's a candy cane stripe. And I slid that underneath that triangle picture right at where the tree on the front side ends. So the whole thing is covered and it makes it look much more finished. And then once I did that, I went ahead and added the bottom portion there, that little cutout that we did at the beginning. And I do have another one of those gold glitter stars that's the same size as the one on the front. So I'm just going to add that to finish it off on the back as well. That way everything looks good and finished. So before I put this into the album, I was struggling a little bit with getting these pages to flip. I think that the first or second photo had some stickiness on there, and I did earlier take this stick off of it. But then I got to thinking well, if somebody else was looking at this album, or if I'm looking at it years and years from now or something, I might not know that there's more than one picture there. I might not even know that that flips up. So I decided to add a couple of tabs onto the bottom of those triangles. That way we can see there's a clear indicator that there are pages to flip on this tree itself. So I did that. I went into my tiny phrase stickers and got some black with white text. I tried the white with red text, and it was like something about it made it too busy, and same thing with the red. But when I added the black, I think because I'm going to put the black and white twine bow up above the 24, that it helps to tie the black in below it as well. And then I ended up choosing a phrase. So I stuck the tabs super close together so I could put one phrase across the two. And the one that I chose says, believe in the magic, which is perfect because I'm also going to add the gold believe right above it. So it just, everything ties together. It is like a lot of things on this page, but I super love the way that it turns out. I think it looks really pretty, and it's really textural, and I think that's awesome. So one of the problems I ran into, yet again, was that my triangles were already adhered together. So the second page, it didn't matter. I just had I had the tabs go on either side of the photos. But for the first one, I did not want my tab to be on top of the felt. So I just peeled it up again and added my tab in between the felted tree and the first photo there, and then stuck everything back down again. Luckily, not enough time had passed where it was like super stuck. I was able to peel it up and get everything put on there real nicely. And I like the way that that turns out. For the rest of this, I'm just going to add liquid adhesive to make everything stick together. So the bow will go up at the top, and then I will add some of that liquid adhesive to the Believe acrylic word as well. It's like a gold mirror acrylic word. It's super pretty. So I'll add it to that, and that's going to go right underneath the 24, and then it's finished. Like this little portion is finished. So next I'm going to move on to this photo. Now this photo is going to be the last thing that you see. On the front side of the photo is going to be the grid that you can see over there to the right. So I figured I would go ahead and do the photo first, since I know that I'm going to add these transparency stars that are like shaker pocket stars. And I need to add those on with my tiny attacher so that we can't see the adhesive. And since this photo is going to be adhered to the back side of my journaling page, I wanted to make sure to get these stapled on first. That way I don't make the mistake I made earlier and have to like peel everything back apart. So it works out this way. I went ahead and added all three to the spread. These were the number one reason why I got the star mini kit. And I am not a hoarder. Like when I love something, I want to use it right away, because if I don't use it, I will never use it. I don't know if any of you guys are that way too. So because I know that, I always try to use the things that I love the most. And these were one of them. So I don't know when it was. Maybe it was when Allie did the quote for the prep party, and that's where the quote came from on that particular page. When she did that quote that says, may you never be too old to search the skies on Christmas Eve, I knew that I wanted to do the picture that I put this with. So, I made the suggestion to my kids, like, hey, why don't we go look out the window and see if we can spot Santa tonight? They were all about it. And I knew I wanted to take that picture, to put that quote on there, and to use those stars. So that has been a plan since the very beginning, and I love, love, love the way it turned out. So once I had that done, I just went ahead and adhered it to the back of this journaling page. This page to make, all I did was I traced out a grid on a piece of paper. And this is outside of the page protector. So I traced it where there was enough room in the beginning to put an embellishment, and then a long area where I could add journaling. And then on top of the sketched lines, I actually stitched with red thread. So that's how I made that. Then I took this over to the side and went ahead and added my journaling in here. I did it by hand because I like to have a mix of the ways that I add my journaling in. I do like to have my handwriting in these albums. I like it the more I see it. So it's important for me to see my handwriting so I can learn to love it. I did use both a Slick Writer pen and a Precision Point pen just to give some varying of the text there. Then I brought this back over to my desk, and I'm just going to add all of these little embellishments into those tiny squares. The only one I did anything different to is I just stuck down one of the Tim Holtz Christmas tokens onto one of those circle chipboards. The rest of them are all either from the main kit or just things from my stash. Super love the way this one turned out. All right, friends, so that finishes my day 24. Love the way that this turned out. So we've got this little flip up portion here with the tree where we've got a couple of different pictures just showing a little capsule of our day that day. And then on the back side of this, I've got a picture of me reading the story to the kids, and then my journaling over here. And on the last page, we have the picture of the kids looking outside for Santa. So the last thing I've got to do is just read you guys my journaling for today, and then that will be it for day 24. So for today's journaling, I said, we started our Christmas Eve with picking up the kids from my parents' house and eating brunch with them. Loved spending the morning together. While at the Shaws, which are my parents, Aaron got a call from his dad informing him that Tita had fallen down some stairs at her house and was in the hospital. That was our cue to head out. Thankfully, Tita was okay and will recover. We tried to make it to the Irinate house before Tita left, but we just missed him. We did see Lola and Christina though and exchanged gifts. Once we completed all of our gift drop-offs, we returned to the comfort of our home. It was so strange to be home for Christmas Eve, but also pretty relaxing. Aaron cooked our Christmas Eve dinner and it was delicious. He roasted a chicken, made sweet potato casserole, and made homemade stuffing. Yum. Meanwhile, the kids and I watched a movie. In no time at all, it was time to get the kids ready for bed. We set out cookies for Santa, read The Night Before Christmas, and took one last look out the window to try to see Santa. So that is day 24. So just a few little stories to give you like an idea of what our day was like for Christmas Eve this year, because it was very different than any other year we've ever had, for sure. Tita is Aaron's grandma. So everybody in our family has different names for grandparents. So my parents are Nana Joe and Popeye. My husband's parents are Tito and Lola. And then grandparents on my husband's side, his grandma is Tita, so Papa and Tita. But she is okay. I think she was finally able to go home yesterday or today. So she's doing better now, which is quite a relief. So anyway, that is my day 24. I hope that you guys enjoyed seeing this page come together. If you did, I would love a thumbs up down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can see all of the content I have coming your way. I will be back again tomorrow with day 25 in this book, so that will complete all of my daily stories. And then after that, we'll have one more process video for this album, just a couple of bonus pages, and that will be it. We will have this album completely done. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. I will catch you all in tomorrow's video. Bye now.